Alrighty, good morning, evening, afternoon. Today, I'm at Japan's northernmost train station, Wakkanai Station. But what a lot of people don't know is that actually this wasn't Japan's northernmost train station. In fact, it used to be a few hundred kilometers over that way into the sea. So joining me in today's video as I make my way to Wakkanai Station, explain a bit about the history of what used to be the northernmost train station and explore this city. Oh, there you go. Oh, pull. It helps if you actually read, Brandon. I do love how matter of fact the Japanese to English translations are. Like, if it was in the UK, it'd be, oh, please don't fall asleep. But here it's just like, you must not fall asleep. Around the Hokkaido. So we actually need to go up there because my seat's in the first carriage. So in order to get to Wakkanai from Otoineppu, we'll be taking the Sarobetsu Limited Express, taking just under 2 hours. If you wanted though, you could also take a local train which only takes around 30 minutes extra. This is mainly because so many stations have closed on the line that there aren't actually that many more stations the local trains stop at. However, services in general have been gradually reduced over the years, and JR Hokkaido has also proposed closing or converting part of the line to a third sector railway. A third sector railway is a train line run jointly by local governments and private companies to keep service alive when the national railway can't operate it profitably. And it's becoming increasingly common across Japan. So who knows, in 10 years, trains heading to Wakkanai could be completely different, if even still running at all. And finally we arrive at Japan's northernmost train station. Look at that. And you see here there are plaques here on the left. So if you were going to go right from the southern point of Kyushu to here, it would take quite a long time, I think. That's certainly somewhere I do want to go to though, in Kyushu. So, you know, not too far from where I live actually. A lot more reasonable than coming to Wakkanai, which ironically I've done first. Well, there's a lot of people. So one thing I want to confirm, sorry it's a bit boring, but I want to confirm if the bus running from here to Cape Soya is still operating
around this time because obviously I've come here for New Year's. I'm spending New Year's here, so there's a good chance it might not be running. あ、すみません。明日もソヤまでのバスは運転していますか？
運転しているはずです。ちょっとお待ちください。はい、明日も出てます。
はい、よかった。ではこれ取っていいですか？
はい、どうぞ。
はい、ありがとうございます。Alright, so the bus to Cape Soya, Japan's also actual northernmost point, is still running tomorrow, but I saw a sign saying that on New Year's Day, they're running a bus from 6 a.m. to get to Cape Soya on New Year's Day, which I might do. That sounds very tempting. But in any case, let's head on outside and take a look at the monument for Japan's northernmost train station point. And so here's the station building, quite actually large for a town or city of this size, really. I guess it is the northernmost point, it'd only be fitting. But here you have the marker for Japan's northernmost train line. There we go, we've made it. Oh man. Well, you can see kind of like markers of it going there. You might wonder what that's all about, and that's because actually right over there used to be, for a very brief time, a very long time ago, Japan's actual northernmost station. But before that, what I'm going to do is get some lunch because I'm very hungry, and thankfully I see right in front of me there's a teishoku place, basically a set lunch restaurant, so that'll do me very nicely. Alright, so that was very nice and filling, but what we're going to do from here on out is visit Wakkanai's North Breakwater Dome, and along the way I'd like to just explain the history of it, why it was built, and how it was very briefly Japan's northernmost train station.
If you've visited Wakkanai, it's very likely you've also gone to visit its North Breakwater Dome. Built in 1936, it's an imposing 427-metre structure designed to protect the area against the harsh waves and storms of the sea. If you look at the surrounding area now, however, you'd wonder what on earth it's actually protecting, given the only things nearby are a park and docked ship. Well, if you went back 100 years, you'd find this area look very different, being home to a bustling port and its very own train station. Wakkanai Sanbashi Eki, or Wakkanai Pier Station, opened in 1938, allowing passengers to get right off the train and right onto the ferries docked at the pier. It was short-lived, however, as the station shut down in 1945, just 7 years after its opening. That date also gives us a little hint as to why the station closed and why the station wasn't actually Japan's all-time northernmost train station. In order to talk about that, however, we'll be heading somewhere else later in the video.
Ooh, if there's a bell, then it's meant to be rung. Ow. So that's the North Breakwater Dome. So that is the North Breakwater Dome. Very cool, very interesting structure. Now, what I'm going to do is actually, I don't know, because it might involve onsens, it might involve the northernmost point. I guess you'll find out. Alright, so I've checked into my hotel and I'm on the way to an onsen in Wakkanai, and I'm walking through some main streets, and you really get the impression of a city that's kind of past its peak. You have a lot of abandoned shops, just closed shops, and just things generally seem in not as good as repair as perhaps they were in the past. I'm just walking, there's a deer here. I'm gonna stay very clear of you, buddy. Okay, that's a thing. See ya. Oh, Jesus Christ, I was slightly afraid that it would just kind of charge me or something. Oh my God. I don't think I've ever seen an animal that big just in a street. Holy moly. Oh, and there's Seiko Mart, Hokkaido's very own konbini brand. If you can see it with this camera is not good at low light situations, so apologies if everything looks really bad. I'm sure it does, but so long as it captures the adventure.
The place we're heading to, it's called Minami no Yu, one of the most northernmost onsens in Japan. But more relevant to our story is what's located on the second floor, an exhibition about a part of Japan that no longer exists. And that place is called Karafuto. To understand Karafuto, we need to talk briefly about the island just north of Wakkanai, today known as Sakhalin. Although now firmly Russian territory, it was once one of the most contested pieces of land between Japan and Russia. Japan's period of control began after the Russo-Japanese War in 1905. Following Japan's victory, the first modern defeat of a European power by an Asian nation, the Treaty of Portsmouth awarded Japan the southern half of Sakhalin, which it already occupied during the war. This suddenly created a new frontier and new border with Russia. And with Japan receiving land it had long believed should be theirs, there was a rush to develop, settle and secure the region. Towns were built, industries established, and the population exploded from just a few 10,000s of people to over 400,000 residents. But unlike Korea or Manchuria, Karafuto wasn't treated as a colony. It was administered as part of Japan itself, eventually even becoming a full prefecture. And that's why so much money and effort went into it. Railways, roads, ports and schools, everything you could expect in mainland Japan was built here as well. And it also shows just how important Wakkanai was at the time, acting as the gateway to this northern frontier. So with this context we can finally answer the question, if Japan once controlled southern Sakhalin, then the northernmost train station ever built in Japan must have been somewhere up there. But where was it exactly? By the time the Soviet Union invaded in August 1945, several new railway extensions were under construction, some of which might have become Japan's northernmost station had the war continued. But based on everything I've been able to find, I'm confident that Japan's northernmost station was Koton Station, today known as
Победина.
Station. This is what the station looks like now. Nothing remains of its time as a Japanese station. And that's true for most of Karafuto. After the war, residents were either naturalized or repatriated, and buildings were demolished or replaced. One of the best surviving examples of Japanese Karafuto architecture is actually the Sakhalin Regional Museum, located in
Южно-Сахалинск.
formerly the prefectural capital. I first learnt about much of this history at the Karafuto Memorial Museum in Wakkanai, and if this topic interests you, I highly recommend visiting. But before we end our journey back in Wakkanai, there's still one more place we need to go to, and to see it we'll have to wake up very early.
So I've woken up at silly o'clock, it's about 5:30 AM, to ride a bus that goes from 6 AM all the way to Cape Soya, Japan's northernmost point. And what we're going to hopefully do is see Japan's first sunrise of the year, because today is New Year's Day. Happy New Year! Alright, so we're here and it's freezing cold. It didn't help that the lady on the bus, good intentions in mind, was just talking the entire 40 minutes. I appreciate the enthusiasm, but I'm just like dead and tired. But we're being led somewhere. I mean, I'm just too tired. I'm gonna be a sheep. I'm gonna be a sheep and just go wherever we're supposed to go, or whatever. Most point. Oh my god. And I think that's where I'll be ending off today's video. We've made it from Kyushu in Fukuoka all the way up Japan's northernmost point on New Year's Day and the first sunrise, which unfortunately you can't see because there's a huge kind of snowstorm. I hope you've enjoyed this series though. In Hokkaido, I've really enjoyed it a lot, even though it's freezing cold. My face is freezing as well. But yeah, stay safe and have a good one. Have a happy new year, although I'm sure this will probably be released sometime in January. But yeah, have a good one.